On this video, we're going to be talking about quadrilaterals. So there are 5 quadrilaterals and I only have 4 right here. That's because the last one, I'm going to be putting it on another page. For right now, we're going to focus on square, rhombus, rectangle, and parallelogram. So on a square, thing about a square is that it has 4 equal sides. Each one of them has one line, so 4 equal sides. Okay, and it has 4 right angles. Okay, that's what this little square means right here. This is a right angle. So it's got 4 equal sides and 1 right angle. Now, if you think about squishing that square like that, okay, now you have what we would call a rhombus. Okay, 4 sides, because it's a quadrilateral, and not only does it have 4 sides, it has 4 equal sides. That's why I was like, it's sort of like a squished square. So it has 4 equal sides and it's squished. Okay? Rectangle. For the rectangle, you can have a rectangle that looks like this, or a rectangle that looks like this. Okay? Either way, 4 sides, because it's a quadrilateral. Opposite sides are congruent, same size. That's why these two have one line. These two have 2 lines. Now, it really doesn't matter which one has the 1 lines and which one has the 2 lines, okay? It has 1 right angle, okay? This one, opposite sides are congruent, equal, okay? And 4 right angles. Now, one thing that I did forget to mention on both the square and the rhombus is also this. Opposite sides are parallel. These 2 sides will never meet. These 2 sides will never meet. Okay? 1 arrow, 1 arrow. These are the 2 sides that are parallel. 2 arrows, 2 arrows. These are the sides that are parallel. 1 arrow, 1 arrow. These 2 are parallel. 2 arrows, 2 arrows. These 2 sides are parallel. For the square, 1 arrow, 1 arrow. These 2 sides are parallel. They'll never touch. 2 arrows, 2 arrows. These 2 sides are parallel. They'll never touch. On a rhombus, 1 arrow, 1 arrow. These 2 sides are parallel. They'll never touch. 2 arrows, 2 arrows. These 2 sides are parallel. They'll never touch. Now, like I said, it doesn't really matter which ones have 1 arrow and which ones have 2 arrows, as long as the opposite ones are the ones that have the same number of arrows on them. Now, if you were to squish this rectangle, you would get a parallelogram. Now, I'm not saying parallelograms come from squished rectangles. No, it's just something that helps me out. Okay? And the way it helps me out is like this. Opposite sides are congruent, equal, because these 2 sides are the same. These 2 sides will be the same. These 2 sides are the same. These 2 sides are the same. Okay? It's almost like a squished rectangle. Also, this side and this side are parallel. This side and, this side are parallel. 2 arrows, 2 arrows. Now remember, like I said, it doesn't matter which ones have the one arrow or the two arrows. All that matters is that the opposite sides have the same amount of arrows. Okay? Now, you can have a parallelogram like that, or you can have a parallelogram like this also. It's still going to be, it's still going to be a squished rectangle. This side and this side and this side are the same. Right here, these two sides are parallel. These two sides are parallel. Now, I did say that there's one that is a quadrilateral, has four sides, but it's different in the sense that for this one, talking about the trapezoid, it's different in the sense that sorry again about that right there. All of these have two sides that are parallel. It has two pairs of parallel sides. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. For a trapezoid, it only has one pair of parallel sides. Okay? Now, opposite sides, okay, don't always have to be congruent or the same. For sure, these two are not the same size. These two are. But this is another type of trapezoid. Four sides. It's a quadrilateral. Okay. One pair of parallel sides, but none of these side lengths are the same. None of them are congruent. Okay. These two are congruent. Okay. None of these are congruent. You can also have this one. Hopefully I can do it to where it's extremely exaggerated. There you go. See this one? It has a right angle right there. That's a right trapezoid. Okay? These two look somewhat the same. This is not a right angle right here. Neither is this. No right angles, no right angles. But on this, none of them are congruent. Okay? However, you do have one pair of parallel sides. So, if you've ever seen that movie Encanto, it's kind of like Bruno, where no one talks about Bruno. Well, too bad. Sorry, trapezoid. That's why you're off on the side by yourself. Okay? These two tend to be together. This one, trapezoid, almost by itself like Bruno. So, here's the way it breaks down. The quadrilaterals. It's a polygon with four sides. Underneath that, you have two sets. Okay? Here's trapezoid. Sorry, trapezoid. Okay? This one comes over here because remember, it only has one pair of parallel sides. Over here, you have four sides, just like this one, but it has two pairs of parallel sides. Two pairs of parallel sides, two pairs of parallel sides, two pairs of parallel sides. Okay? Now, the reason they break it down like this is because over here, this one, you have, okay, four sides, just like all of them. Okay? This one, opposite sides are congruent. This one, opposite sides are congruent. Okay? And this one has four right angles, not this one. This one doesn't have four right angles. But the reason why the square is way down here is because on this one, it's a little bit of both. Okay? Four sides, four sides, four sides. Opposite sides are congruent, opposite sides are congruent. Four right angles, four right angles. But on these two, not only are opposite sides congruent, all the sides are the same length, okay? So that's going to be the breakdown right there. At the very top, you have quadrilateral. And then you have trapezoid over here. I'll put Bruno. Parallelogram. Okay, those two at the very top. Then over here, you have rectangle. You have rhombus. And then over here, you have a square. Okay? By definition, all squares are rhombus, but not all rhombus are squares. Okay? So, by definition, it's because all of these have four equal sides. So does this one. All of these have opposite sides that are parallel. So is this one. Okay? The difference, though, is that this one has four right angles. So when we say all rhombus are like squares, but not all squares are rhombus, it's like saying all chickens are birds, but not all birds. Oh, sorry. All chickens are birds, but not all birds are chickens. Okay? All squares are rhombus, but not all rhombus are squares. All squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are squares. All squares are parallelograms, but not all parallelograms are squares. Because look, you can have these as parallelograms. All rectangles are parallelograms, but not all parallelograms are rectangles, because you can have these. All rhombus are parallelograms, but not all parallelograms are rhombus. If anything, when you're going to be talking about all, it goes bottom up for all. All squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are squares. All squares are rhombus, but not all rhombus are squares. All squares are parallelograms, but not all parallelograms are squares. All squares are quadrilaterals, okay? For sure, all of these are going to be quadrilaterals, okay? So all, think of it as going bottom up. Those are going to be your alls.